What is going on, roofing contractors? Have a very exciting show for you guys here today. If you want to grow your business, you need a few things. You need a great process, you need great people to sell your product, and you need a great product to put onto roofs. But I'll tell you what else you need. You need a great legal team behind you if you want to grow your business. And today I'm going to introduce you to one individual who, if you don't know in the roofing industry, you will very soon, and you need to get to know as soon as possible. Attorney Winston Tate is here with me today. How you doing, Winston?
Great, and it's great to be here. Thank you so much for taking time to give me the opportunity to discuss the process and answer any questions you may have. You know, Florida is an amazing place to do property damage insurance work. There are a lot of consumer protections in place, and I think ultimately, as we go through this conversation, it's important to think about the consumer. It's important to think about what a privilege it is to help them out, and at the same time navigate this insurance process.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you do each and every day. So you help with property loss, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you work with roofing contractors, you work with contractors across the board in Florida, you name it. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So how do you get involved in that kind of law? Where does it start from you? What's the story behind Winston Tate?
Sure. No, and I'll start all the way kind of back in the beginning.
Okay.
I'm a working class kid from New York City, kind of worked my way up, did well in school, and got a scholarship to one of the most prestigious high schools in the country. So it's the same school that both President Bushes went to. I like to point out that Jeb Bush, the governor of the state of Florida, doesn't make our notable alumni, which is the school that it's what an experience for a young kid, grew up working class to, make my way up into an elite institution. From there, ended up going to Florida State Law School, where I had passion for really criminal defense.
Well, so we can disagree on that. I mean, Florida State I don't know if it's like a real school, but I guess they still give out law degrees over there.
Yeah, so graduated in 2007, and all I wanted to do, my only goal as a lawyer was to win a jury trial.
Okay.
And so fortunately, going to the public defender, I had that opportunity early on. Went to court, had a trial and won, and so hit my early goals pretty early.
If you don't mind me, what was the trial about?
It was a battery case where 5 witnesses came up against my client, and it was a misdemeanor battery. So it was one of my first trials, and we were able to walk my client, which was incredible.
That's awesome.
And it was a good feeling. Yeah. So did criminal defense and had a lot of success. One of the stories goes, when I was doing criminal defense, I actually had a client, and I thought we were ahead going to the jury. Okay. So I got a little bit cocky, and during my closing, I told the jury, the judge is going to tell you to find my client guilty or not guilty. And that means either the state did their job or the state didn't do their job. And so I told the jury, I said, hey, I want you to disregard what the judge is telling you. I want you to go back there and write in innocent. I want you to write the words in innocent.
Okay.
And of course, you have to think you're ahead on the scorecard to tell a jury to disregard what the judge is saying. So the jury goes back, and lo and behold, 2 minutes later, there's a knock at the door with a question. And they bring the jury, foreperson brings the question to the judge. The judge kind of opens it up. And the question is, in response to the defense attorney's assertions, can we write in innocent? So I looked at my client, and I said, you're going home today. So that was a different trial, but, so young, come in, all I want to do is...
That feel good, though. I mean, to be able to help people like that?
It did.
I mean, honestly, somebody gets to walk home out of a courtroom. It's like something out of Law and Order.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, really, it is. They've got this criminal thing going, and then all of a sudden they're walking out and they're a free man, right?
Absolutely. And in that manner was special. And obviously, we like to talk about all our wins. It's, as a quarterback, you talk about your wins. And, there's challenges, too, dealing with criminal defense and the emotional stress and the tolls of being available for families. But at the end of the day, it's the same kind of level of customer service. So at the end of the day, as you're representing your client, you're representing their express interests, you're trying to do the best job for them.
Okay.
And so, that was kind of, I got in, I was at the public defender's office, did a bunch of trials, and then got the opportunity to go to a private law firm doing criminal defense work. So I come in and I go from representing people who have no money to all of a sudden to people who are paying $100,000 for retainers and very serious cases.
All right.
And so it was a big shift, and actually got really, really good results there also. So I had punishable by life felony cases that I defended successfully, fraud cases that I defended successfully, In fact, unlicensed public adjusting cases. So back in 2010, when assignment of benefits were really starting to catch hold, they had arrested someone down in South Florida for taking an assignment of benefits and charged them with unlicensed public adjusting, which is a third-degree felony.
Okay.
And it was a privilege that they chose my firm to represent them, and we were able to kind of shut that down. You could imagine the chilling effect it would have if just by taking an assignment of benefits, someone was either on probation or got a conviction for unlicensed public adjusting.
Yeah.
So that was some of the early work I did.
Is that really their first introduction over to property loss law? Was that AOB case?
I appreciate that was, and I was at a firm that primarily did. So today that firm is the largest firm in property damage. And so they had a big property damage division, and I was doing the criminal defense work. So I would go to the meetings every week. And there was one issue that no one could figure out. There was one issue that the firm kept losing at over and over again.
So let me rewind. So you've got this big firm or whatever,
Yes.
and there's one issue that these guys can't figure out. There's one case they can't get around. Is that basically it?
On the property damage side.
On the property damage side.
Yeah. So I'm running the criminal defense division,
Okay.
having success there. And at the weekly meetings, this issue would come up, and it got to the point where
Well, what was the issue?
So the issue was, at the time, the question was, as a contractor who takes an assignment of benefits, who's the person entitled to go to appraisal? So the question was, if you really look at it, if you're the carrier, you want the homeowner to go to appraisal because the homeowner doesn't care. They're not going to pay the money to go to appraisal. Their home has been dried out. Their roof has been put on. The services are complete. So by taking the appraisal out of the contractor's hands and putting it into a homeowner's hands, it effectively killed the claims. And so I would hear this issue over and over again, and State Farm was particularly good at it. And what would happen is State Farm would walk into the courtroom and there was not even a hearing. The judge was automatically ruling in favor of State Farm and saying that it was the homeowner's benefit. Appraisal was the homeowner's benefit. And that was kind of the last straw for me. I said, I can't be at a firm where we're not even being heard and State Farm is shutting us out. So, even though I was doing all criminal defense, I really just kind of buckled down, looked into that issue, and was able to give ourselves a fighting shot. And interestingly, that argument that I developed back in 2010 is probably the most popular argument that's being made, or one of the more popular arguments that's being made now.
Yep.
And so that was, it was just by chance. At that point, I was, had attempted murder cases. Again, I was doing a completely drug trafficking cases. And at these meetings, it just rubbed me the wrong way that we couldn't figure out how to beat State Farm. So we developed, a playbook on beating State Farm on that issue. And then slowly but surely, I transferred to doing all property damage work. And so it was a wonderful transition. And it's what I do today. It's exclusively what I do today. I like to think about what we do as a consumer protection. The idea that, Florida is a high property damage state. The idea that without these consumer protections, things can get a little bit awry. And our house is our castle,
Mm-hmm.
right? Particularly during these days with, Corona, you want your home. Could you imagine being quarantined and having a home that is in disarray, or having water leaks, or having roof leaks? And so I'm happy that I made that switch from criminal defense into exclusively doing property damage work, and it's what I've done ever since approximately 2010.
So now that you've got the experience in the property damage area, okay, what advice? Let's jump right into this. You see contractors of all kinds come across your table, right? Yeah. Sit across from you, and they need legal advice. If you're talking to a small contractor out there, that guy who's doing 100 roofs a year, he's trying to grow his business to 500 roofs a year, but he doesn't even know what legal mistakes he's making. What advice would you give to that guy who's trying to grow his business from a legal perspective? Maybe a mistake that you've seen out there, something you wish they would do better when they come to your office. What would you say?
Yeah, put the right team around you. So the first thing is, when you hear attorneys, property damage attorneys, obviously there's a ton here in the state of Florida. What I tell people is, they say, a lot of people will say, hey, give me some cases and I'll work on your behalf. First thing I tell a roofer is, tell me a little bit about your operation. Tell me a little bit about your needs. Tell me a little bit about what makes you differences. What's your strengths? What's your weaknesses? So you have sophisticated operations. You have some of these roofing companies are massive. They're sophisticated. They understand the law. They understand the process, all the way down to some of the smaller shops. And so I think the most important thing is that there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, that you have to kind of go to see the roofing company, see the processes they have in place, and really be there to kind of supplement them to a certain extent. So I'm not going to come into any operation and tell someone what to do. If you have a business, if you have a successful business, I don't give business advice, I give legal advice. And so what I like to do is not take a, hey, everyone do this approach. I like to take the approach of, hey, give me the opportunity to come in, learn a little bit about what's important to you, give me some questions ahead of time, and I'll generate a personal presentation for you. And not only that, is it helps me represent roofers' interests a little bit better. When you get in there and you see the struggles they have, you get in some of these trucks and you think, wow, how much is the gas? How much is the insurance?
So true.
How much is the workers' comp? How much is the general liability? Then you have people running away with checks. You have people in dualies chasing, not literally, but going house to house to house to get checks. And what that really makes you understand is how important what we're doing is, because when a claim comes to me, it's an estimate, it's a certificate of completion, it's an NOC, right? Mm-hmm. When you go in and you see your roofer and you see the work they do and the pride in the work they do, that's when you really start to form that relationship. That's when you really start to be the piece of the puzzle, right? Yep. So each different roofing company is a different piece of the puzzle. And as their attorney or one of their attorneys or a potential attorney, what I want to do is perfectly fit your company and your needs. So to some of the smaller companies, what I say is ask questions. Ask questions first. So a lot of the smaller companies will dump 25 files on my desk.
Do you think they're intimidated to ask questions of their attorney? Like they get an attorney and they think, it's an attorney. I shouldn't be asking. I'm paying them a shit ton of money, but I shouldn't ask them any questions because I don't want to bother my attorney. Is there some kind of level of that? I see that, I feel like.
I think a lot of people do, and that's one of the common things. And the first thing I say is take a deep breath.
Good.
Right? Take a deep breath. I'm not going to charge you anything, right?
Okay.
I want to answer your questions. I want to answer them to the best of my ability, because where do I get paid? How does this benefit me? Down the line, when a claim is denied, I'd like you to, kind of keep me in mind. But if that, I've done consultations, I've done presentations for countless roofers who have never given me a single case, but their company is better because of some of the foundational work that I've done for them. And I'm fine with that. And I can look you here in the eyes and say, I'm fine. That's not, obviously my business works on getting cases. Sure. But at the end of the day, if a smaller roofer that you're talking about, if I can set up a structure for them to get paid fast, for their cases not to get caught up in litigation, I've done my job.
So here's what I would say to roofing contractors out there. If you want a steak, you don't go to a chicken restaurant, all right? I mean, I know it sounds stupid to say, but if you want a great steak, you go to a steakhouse.
Absolutely.
You want to go to somebody who specializes in what you want.
Absolutely.
And it seems like for whatever reason with attorneys, we seem to throw that out the window. Yeah. Let me go to my big box attorney over here. Let me get all my needs met by this individual. Yeah. When I've got somebody here who specializes in exactly what I want. I want the steak and I want it cooked very, very well right here.
Yeah.
That's all we're going to do.
Yeah.
But some reason, let's go with the name over here when they got a DUI division, they've got a criminal, they got all this other stuff going on.
Yeah.
And you got Winston Tate right here is just going to focus on one thing and one thing only for you.
And ultimately, I understand, right? You see commercials, yep. You see billboards, and there's just this kind of association. And I understand that, and I'm not here to kind of knock anyone else's processes. In fact, what I think it does, I think it helps me. I think it helps me when you get the experience at a larger firm, at a bigger setup, and then you come and my team presents to you on an issue, and I know we have some common clients. Yeah. And I think what you'll hear is that presentation, that sort of pinpoint focus on what you need. So I actually don't discourage competition, right? I invite the competition only because, one, I think there's enough out there for everyone, and two, I'm confident in the product that I put forward. I'm confident in the team that I've developed, and I'm confident in the trajectory that we're going. And you kind of have to take a step back when you're talking about property damage and you're talking about attorneys and litigations, and you have to kind of really, really think. We just came through a period in which contractors, by virtue of the assignment of benefits, were in an extreme position of power, right? So it was a completely different ballgame. And so what you're seeing are contractors making the transitions and law firms making the transitions. And so the question is, in what manner do you make that transition? Do you kind of take the same assignment of benefit approach to representing a homeowner? Of course you can. I can't talk to a contractor. If I'm talking to an 80-year-old lady whose kitchen is torn out or whose home is leaking, I can't talk to her and use legal jargon. I can't talk to her and talk in a cold manner. What I do is I tell her, hey, you have my personal cell phone number. So all my clients have my personal cell phone number.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about a starting point, you have my personal cell phone. I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to work you through this process. And so just as contractors have made this change from assignment of benefits to this post-assignment world, which in many ways have been detrimental to consumers, I think law firms have to kind of do the same thing. And so we're equipped to really, really, we know how to talk to people.
Yes.
We understand, I come from a blue collar background. I know I don't have a problem walking into someone's home and telling them, hey, I understand where it is, what it's like to be in your situation, and holding their hand. And again, because of my background also, I have no problem walking into a $2 million home and telling them, hey, we have a team in place to effectively represent your needs. And so I think, one of the differences in how one of the differences is really how has your firm made the transition through to direct representation of homeowners, and do you care? At the end of the day, do you care
about the homeowner?
Do you care? Exactly.
So, roofing contractor, let me break this down for you guys about what exactly me and Winston are talking about, because I want to break this down for everyone to layman's terms, okay? The AOB law is gone. It's not coming back. So we're not going to be able to tie the homeowner to our contract. So what we have now is we've got to deliver a service for them. We got to get the roof on quickly, not give them an opportunity to cancel on us. But what we also have to do is we also have to make sure that if the claim is denied, if the claim gets approved for a repair, that we have a good, solid foundation, a good legal team on the back end that is going to have a personal relationship with the homeowner, attach them to you and your contract, you as a contractor. And this way, when that claim gets approved, you are going to get that roof. You don't want to put in all that work. The claim goes in and gets approved, and then the homeowner goes with somebody else. The way you're going to do that is by attaching that individual to you as a contractor through your legal team. You want to make sure you've got a solution for them if the claim is approved, if the claim is only approved for a repair, or if it gets denied. That is what someone like Winston and his team are going to help you with. Developing that personal relationship, with the homeowner. Is that right?
100%.
Okay.
100%. And so what you have is, again, a different approach, and you also have to kind of be cognizant, where are we? Is this a denial, right? If it's a denial, you want to get it. You want to make sure that the homeowner is educated as to what their rights are and give them options. One of those options may be a legal option, particularly on a denial. When you're dealing with part pays, there are ways of sending demands and being the squeaky wheel. There are other manners to getting paid. But with denials, you want to get the process started as quickly as possible. And so in terms of when a law firm becomes involved in a claim, right?
Sure.
I think this is an important kind of thing.
Because I think a lot of roofing contractors are out there, if they're watching this, going, okay, when do I even want to get someone like Winston and his team involved?
100%.
So when is it time for you to step in?
So I think if you're dealing with a large commercial job, if you're dealing with a complex project, if you're dealing with a project that's, a vast project, you want attorneys to be in as soon as possible, because those are going to be vigorously fought. They're going to be fought by vigorous defense teams. You're dealing with complex insurance policies. So certainly on those claims, you want to get an attorney to review what the benefits that the insured may be entitled to under that contract as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
When you're dealing with a standard residential shingle roof, I say roofer, homeowner, try to get the money without me if possible, right? I want you to come to me after there's a breakdown. Why? One is speed. If you can get your money without me, you don't need me. Two is value. If you come to me and I get you paid in 2 weeks, you may think to yourself, both the roofer and the insured may think to themselves, did we even need Taitt Law? And just by a little plug here is, in that situation, I would take zero.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I do, and I sent off a check. It was one of the best checks that I sent off. Pre-suit check in the closing statement. I take 0. If we're not in litigation, I take a 0, and that's another difference.
Incredible.
But just like giving a roofer advice, getting a homeowner a pre-suit settlement without taking, if I'm taking a % out of your roof, how do you put your roof on?
I'm gonna tell you what this is. I'm gonna tell you straight up. This is the problem I have with PAs. Okay, I see contractors who don't know what they're doing. So this is what they do. They open up a claim and they send the claim off to a PA, giving away 15 to 20%. Absolutely ridiculous in my opinion, because you don't even know what's going to happen with the claim yet. That claim could absolutely get approved, and you just gave up 15 to 20% of your RCV to that PA, and you don't even know what was going to happen. And so I think that's what you're saying there is no need to get involved until we figure out what the insurance company is going to do with that claim.
Exactly.
Is that right?
100%. And with the exception of these complex cases and these larger losses, commercial jobs. So now you have a denial. Get that denial over, obviously educate the homeowner. So part of, get that denial over, educate the homeowner, push that claim, and try to overturn those denials and get people paid as quickly as possible.
What do you do once you get that denial? So the contractor, the homeowner, they're disappointed, right? Mm-hmm. They got this roof they thought was going to get approved. They walked it out there with an adjuster. They've been working it, the desk adjuster, for the past couple of weeks, and then they get a loss letter and it just says denied.
Yeah.
So how are you stepping in? What are you doing to get them back, like this mindset in the right way?
So there's a lot of different approaches, and I've had this conversation, and some people say, hey, when you get a denial, do you give the carrier an opportunity to pay again? When you get a denial, do you go straight into litigation? When you get a denial, what is your process? And part of it is it's case specific. What is the nature of the denial? So if there's something exotic, let's just put that into the exotic package, right? And we'll say that that's looked on a case-by-case basis, and we really, really work diligently to do a good job and make sure we have the right solution for them. If it's a generic denial, if it's a wear and tear denial, right, which in many respects doesn't make sense. Let me jump onto a wear and tear denial really quickly. An insurance policy is an annual contract. When the carrier takes your premium, they're taking your roof as is, right? If they didn't want to cover your 18-year-old roof, they should not have taken your payment. By them taking your payment, they're taking the roof as is. So they don't get to come back. You know who knows how old the roof is? The carrier.
Of course.
You know who takes that premium? The carrier. So, in your generic templated, sometimes I've seen denial letters that still have the template language in there. They haven't even changed the template language. Mm-hmm. I think that people should start considering putting those claims into litigation a little bit faster, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
There are burdens and obligations, right? The homeowner needs to know what their burdens are and what their obligations are. The only thing the homeowner needs to do is establish that home was damaged during the policy period. It's the carrier's job to investigate, communicate, adjust, and pay. That's their job. And by sending you a denial letter, they're saying contractually that they've done all those things. They're saying, we don't need any more information. We don't need a reinspection. We don't need any documents that you can say we don't need anything.
Yeah.
We're denied. We have a statutory obligation to investigate and find coverage, and we've done that, and we didn't find coverage. We have a policy obligation to investigate and find coverage, and we've done that, and we didn't find coverage, and we're denying your claim. So I think that it's wise when a carrier makes such a bold statement that we've done everything in our power to find coverage, and we didn't find coverage. Mm-hmm. Well, what more do I add at that point besides let's get some judicial review, let's get some recourse, and let's have, let's go through the litigation process in these claims.
I'll tell you, offer a lot, because here's the problem I think you will agree with me that you see out there right now. You have contractors that are putting on 100 to 150 roofs a year, right? Mm-hmm. Those individuals don't have the wherewithal or the money to know that they can have a legal team that could back them up, right? So State Farm expects them to roll over and not do anything.
Unbelievable point.
Correct. So if more contractors knew that they could have a team like yours that 100%. Could be there to help their homeowners through the process, then we could have more claims approved. But they are counting on the fact that they're not going to hire legal representation, that they're not going to go find an attorney to back them up, and they're just going to let it go. I got denied and now I'm done. Is that right?
I'm so happy you brought that up, right? So for the past decade, nearly a decade, all I've done is help people out with property damage claims, and I've never taken a penny from a client. So in my mind, it doesn't make sense that someone doesn't know that they can get, top flight insurance representation for at virtually no cost, at no cost at all.
That's incredible.
And so in my mind, that doesn't even process, because this is what I do every day. We process claims, we get roofs put on, we restore people, we help people restore their homes, all at no cost to the homeowner. We get paid by the insurance carrier.
Correct.
And so it doesn't even cross my mind that there's someone out there, there's a roofer who
all over
did a tough, they went out, they chalked the roof, they took time with the homeowner, they showed the homeowner that chalking, they explained to them the insurance process, they come back with a denial. That roofer and that homeowner don't know that there's consumer protections to challenge that adjustment and that denial. Almost doesn't make sense. I mean, I think you can't repeat it loud enough, because in my world, that's all I do.
Yep.
All I do.
Contractors, what we're saying here is this, is that it's very simple to go out there and sell the roof. You get the roof sold, and then what's going to happen is the insurance companies will come out there and they're going to give you a decision. One of three things is going to happen, as you know. They're going to give you the approval, they're going to give you the repair, or they're going to give you the denial. If they give you one of those last two, they're going repair, they're going denial on you. You have a solution here in Taitt Law that can take you from that denial and try to move it into a full roof replacement. Now, can these guys work miracles for you? No. We're not here to do anything more than what is statutorily owed to the homeowner. But a lot of times, I think as you're alluding to right here, Winston, is that the insurance company has not met that burden of proof. That, there is wind damage. It is more than wear and tear. And what, I always say the biggest building downtown is insurance for a reason. They're not there because they're paying out large premiums. You need to have somebody, a legal team on your side that is going to step up and represent you as a contractor and represent your homeowners. These are the guys who can do that.
100%. And we make that process streamlined. So right now, 2020, things move fast. Everything's done online. So some of the things that we do, and I appreciate you have my website up.
That's a nice picture right there.
Yeah. So one thing we do is we're one of the few places that you can sign up directly on our website.
Love it, man.
So if you've looked at I put my entire resume on there. I put from what I've done from 2007 all the way through to today. Everything is on there. All the legal opinions that I have, everything about my personal experience is on there. And if you choose to hire me and my team, I give you that option to do that in the same way you can do anything else now, right there online. And you get a welcome package. Via email, you get a welcome package via USPS certified. So that's one thing I do. The other thing I do for people who don't know, which is understandable. Some people haven't made that jump to representation early and online. I allow you to directly put consultations onto my personal Outlook and my staff's Outlook. That means you can go on, find a time that's convenient for you, and now I'm largely talking about the homeowners, because with roofers, I'm going to go to your place, I'm going to talk to you much like you do. But for homeowners, I'm going to set up a time that you can talk to me, that I can talk you through this process, and that's a second option that's available to you on the website. But then when you look at both the homeowners and the roofers, I add another element in there, and that is open communication. One of the biggest complaints for people who do understand about insurance litigation, one of the biggest complaints I have from roofers is, hey, this homeowner went with this went with this law firm, and now the law firm is cutting us out, or we're not on the check, or we didn't know that there was a settlement. So when a homeowner signs up with me, one of the things that I make clear to them is they've chosen a contractor, they've chosen a representative, and I want to make sure that that representative is in the loop with communication.
And we just referred to this a minute ago with the AOB law. This is why it is so important that you as an attorney are in communication with that homeowner, with your cell phone, with the online chat, with everything that you can do with that homeowner. Because once that claim is approved, you want to make sure that that claim is going to the contractor. They're not going to go out there and do a race to the bottom where they're going to be trying to find somebody else and take the money from the claim, whatever. You want to make sure they're going with your people, right?
100%. And not only that is, I'm not making that decision. The homeowner made that decision. Yeah. The homeowner, there's freedom of contract. The homeowner could have chosen anyone they wanted to. They chose a specific roofer. That roofer spent time, energy, money, expertise, in walking this person through the process, giving them their options regarding restoring their home. And so what I do is remind the homeowner that they have a contractual obligation.
I love that.
Right? And so this is another important thing that I think in some respects differentiates my firm, because you can't sign up with my firm without also agreeing to open communication with the roofers. And that's something that a lot of my roofing clients really appreciate, because could you imagine going out there doing all of that work and the attorney being the one that cuts you out? If you every home insurance contract says that they're going to pay who's legally entitled to the money, and that's usually the homeowner, potentially the mortgage company, and the contractor who either has a direction to pay or some other entitlement. And so I just make that, having been in that van, having been in those vans and driving around chasing checks, that's the last thing I want you to do, is come to my firm and still have to chase a check.
So this brings me to one point that I want to bring up here, because I think it's very important for contractors across Florida, the nation, to understand. You know, every contractor now has this language in their contract, and it says, if you cancel on me, you owe me $2,500. You owe me 2% of the claim, whatever it might be. I'm here to tell you that's not enforceable. Okay? You take that before a judge, and correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm no attorney, of course. But you contractors, we got to get past this, that if somebody cancels on you, that you're going to be able to go to court and get $2,500 and the judge is going to award it to you. It's just not going to happen unless work was performed on the property. And so what you want to do, you don't want to rely on your cancellation clause within your contract. What you want to rely on is good, solid legal representation that's going to attach that homeowner to you as a contractor. Is that right?
100%. 100%. And not only that, is the cancellation clause, let's put aside the legality or enforceability of the cancellation clause. What you're dealing with is potentially bad advertising. Someone who just paid you $2,500 for not doing work, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't bode well. What's the number one way roofers get business is they see a roofer putting on business in the neighborhood. They walk over and they say, hey, can you inspect my roof? Or hey, can you come over and talk, right? What's the worst thing that you can do is have someone on a megaphone saying, hey, I signed up with this roofer. They didn't do the services, and I ended up paying them $2,500. So again, I started by saying I give legal advice, not business advice. But from a common sense, perspective, I understand why you want to do it, because you have a collections team, you have a customer service team, you have a team that's out there checking in on job sites. You have nice shiny brochures where you show people the different types of shingles and the colors, and you go through the HOA, making sure that the HOA's picked everything out and has approved it. I understand why you want to, but the question is, how do you do that? Right?
Well, you do it by having great legal representation that ties the homeowner to them. That's what you guys do better than anybody.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And you do that through a personal relationship with the homeowner.
Yeah.
And roofing contractors, you're going to build that when you first meet the individual. You sit down at the dining room table. You open up the insurance claim is when you start building that trust with the homeowner. But what we also need to have is to have that trust on the back end. Yeah. There's also nothing worse for a homeowner than you get through that process, the claim gets denied, and everyone just kind of falls off the face of the earth. Yeah. And you're like, okay, I thought I was going to get a new roof. Now I'm not. What do I do now?
Yeah, no, 100%.
That's a terrible feeling.
I'll tell you this much. I'll come to your house.
That's great, man.
You come to my office. Speaking of the biggest buildings, I'm in the biggest building in downtown Orlando.
That's right.
We'll set up a Zoom call, we'll set up a phone call, and you have my personal cell. So that's how we get around that, is we make ourselves available, we make ourselves accessible, and we're busy, right? So if someone gives me a call right now, obviously I can't take that call, but we have the staff in place and we have the ability in place to make sure that we're there and we discuss the process. And also, one other thing is, when I talk to you about that welcome packet, for people, when you talk about education, I also educate people on what to expect. So when you sign up with my firm, you get a letter, and when you sign up with any firm, you get a letter. But I'd like to say that my letter is pretty thoughtful, and that it really answers some of the questions. So how long is this going to take? What are some of the considerations? How are we going to communicate? Where can you get documentation? One of the things that I say in my welcome letter is that I'm going to rely on the documentation in addition to what you provide me from your roofer. Why? Because your roofer's in a better position, right? Your roofer's already gone through the AOB phase. They have a team. They know, they have your policy. They have your claim number. They have everything in place. And so when we talk about amalgamating documentation, the roofer or the contractor, if they're organized, is an incredible resource to help the homeowner push their claim forward. And so not only, because I can't be everywhere at one time, but what I try to do is be thoughtful in my presentation to the homeowners as to what they can expect. And I try to give them realistic expectations and make myself available to them in that manner.
Let's talk about that. Dive in a little bit on expectations here.
Sure.
Because one of the worst things you can do in life as a contractor, as a husband, or it doesn't matter what relationship you're in, is when the expectation doesn't meet the reality. And that's when people get frustrated. Yeah. All right. And so what I think one of the biggest expectations that you guys do a great job of meeting for the homeowner is time. Because that's the first thing every homeowner wants to know. When they have a claim that gets denied, when they have a claim that, they only get $1,000 for a repair, they want to know, okay, listen, fine, I understand you guys want to take it, Taitt Law, but how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
How do you deal with that question, setting the right expectation for the homeowner?
Yeah, so fortunately, as an attorney, we can't guarantee any results. So we always begin, you're not, if you hear an attorney who says this is going to happen, one, there's a prohibition on that, but also, what you really want to think about are variables, right? So you want to look at this scale. You have on one end of the spectrum, you have a claim that's adjusted appropriately, that's paid fully, and that doesn't have the need for an attorney. On the other end of the spectrum, you have a case that's in litigation for 2 or 3 years, right?
Right.
So these are the kind of bookends. And so what you really want to do is be closer. We want to talk about this in a big picture way, and we want to be closer to that front end. And how do we do that, right? And there are factors in that. Is there a better date of loss than not?
Okay.
Sometimes you think about dates that come to mind. Obviously,
sometimes you thought there was a hailstorm, but now there's something else, more damage to that roof, right?
There's more damage to the roof, but also, is there a better date of loss? We know
I'm saying a bigger hailstorm might have come through at a certain day.
100%.
You listed February 12th, and the bigger storm actually came through on the 19th.
So one of the variables is, date of loss. So one of the variables is the carrier and the actual policy. One of the other variables is the nature of the damage, documentation, and then how quickly we communicated with the insurance company a proper claim, and doing that in a manner. So what I say is control what you can control. Keep in mind the big picture, right? Your only obligation as a homeowner is to make your home available for inspection, cooperate with the investigation, put in the claim promptly, and protect your property from additional harm. Generally, those are your obligations. Do your obligations. Yeah. If you're a roofer,
so you mean your obligation isn't to tell them everything, keep talking? People, listen, like we said, do your obligations if you're the homeowner.
Yeah. What I like to say, this is a contract, right? So a lot of people think, hey, we're trying to get over on one. No, this is a very basic, fundamental contract. And the contract says, I'm insuring your home, and in the event of a loss, you have to do certain things. You have to protect your home from future harm. You have to give us prompt notice. You have to make your home available for inspection, and generally, in some manner, cooperate, keep receipts, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. You don't have, and then the flip side of that. So the flip side of that is the Florida legislature, in all of their wisdom, says, who has the money? Who has the time? Who has the resources? Who has the expertise? That's the carrier. Who's in a position? The homeowner needs insurance. So who's in a better bargaining position is the insurance carrier. Oh, so they've placed greater obligations on the insurance carrier. The carrier has to go in and try to find coverage, right? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't believe this. You would not believe.
You think it's the other way around.
You would not believe that the actual carrier's mandate, their legal mandate, is to find coverage or articulate an exception.
I would think anything but, if you really want to know the truth.
Yeah.
So the way it turns out.
And so what I like to remind people is keep in mind what your burdens, and I'll give you a great example to illustrate this. A client came to me and they showed me a denial letter. And I think I've talked to you about this before. Okay. And I looked at the denial letter. I looked at the denial letter with a colleague. And the basis of the denial was, we are denying your claim because you did not provide us with a cause of loss, right? So now think back to the list that I just gave you. Is anywhere on that list cause of loss one of your obligations?
No.
Instantly filed a lawsuit, got the homeowner paid, got their home restored. That case to me illustrates this kind of illusory language that the carrier will use. You had an obligation to show me the cause of loss. Show me anywhere in a policy that is, you mean to tell me let's use the 80, I represent a lot of 80-year-old grandmothers. I'm not just saying that. I represent a lot of older people. You mean to tell me she had an obligation to show you the cause of loss? You have hundreds of adjusters. You have hundreds of millions or billions of dollars. You have employees. You have expertise. And you mean to tell me it was the 80-year-old grandmother's job to find the cause of loss?
Well, you know, the issue as well is that that's not the only time that's ever happened. That happens every single day across the state, everywhere. Because an insurance company knows that 80-year-old grandma most of the time is not going to have Winston Tate to go back them up and change that claim from that shitty denial into a full roof replacement. Mm-hmm. But roofing contractors have got to know that there is options on the back end for their claims. Too often they just have no idea, and their homeowners are being disenfranchised because they don't have the option on the back end. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this. We're almost in 2021 right now. Mm-hmm. As you look at law coming into 2021 surrounding contractors, contractual law, property loss, is there anything that excites you? Anything you think that is going to change? Something you think contractors need to know about that's on the horizon?
Yeah, so one, again, keep in mind and think about your business in an annual contract, right? So we have these consumer protections in place yearly based on the Florida legislature. So that's one thing, is at least have some cognition as to what's going on and talk to people who know what's going on. So kind of stay in the loop with different trends. Personally, my firm is extremely excited in that we're challenging one of the larger insurance companies, one of the more controversial endorsements that we believe restrict people's access and freedom of contract. And we believe that it's an unfair and it's not a bargain for exchange. And I'm using language that both is understandable, but also legally relevant. So, and I don't want to get into too much of the details because it hasn't happened yet. But let's just say there are endorsements out there that are just drafted, and a lot of people don't like endorsements. So your roofer says, I don't like that endorsement. The homeowner says, I don't like that. Well, you know what? That's not legally sufficient. Courts have resoundingly said endorsements are fine. Endorsements can be part of the contract and are legally viable. So it's not enough to say I don't like it. So kind of like, it's interesting. It takes me back to 2010, 2011, kind of like when people kept running their head into the wall and couldn't figure something out. We looked at one of these endorsements and we said, we believe there's something fundamentally flawed with this. And this is not flawed because we don't like it. It's flawed because it's not a bargain for exchange. The carrier has an unfair advantage. So when you look at this, the courts are very clear. Just because one party has an advantage over another, that's not really what's relevant. Is that advantage unfair? Mm-hmm. And so in our opinion, we believe we developed an argument to establish that one of the larger carriers out there have an endorsement that gives them not an advantage, but an unfair advantage because it doesn't completely give people their options and put all of the terms that are important. So if we enter into an agreement, let's talk about the big terms and let's make a decision. If I win that agreement, if you win that agreement, that's fine. All of the terms are out in the open. When the terms aren't out in the open, that's when we believe it's unenforceable. So that's probably the most exciting thing I have coming up.
Well, I think, what I take out of that is that, for the roofing contractors out there, there are changes that are coming. But I would rather work with somebody that doesn't just talk in their commercials about being, willing to take on big insurance. You and your firm are trying to literally change the laws that surround it. The forefront pushing the law forward to try to represent the homeowners at a better capacity. And I would challenge my roofing contractors out there, if you work with myself or my claims care or anybody, that you want to work with attorneys that are in this every day. This is what I was talking about earlier with the steakhouse. You want to go to a steakhouse when you want a good steak. You want to work with attorneys that are working in this industry every single day. It's what they bleed. And I know that about you and your firm. I know you're being a little modest with your case that's coming up there, and I look forward to you guys being successful there because it's going to even the playing field between homeowners and insurance companies. Yeah. And that's what it's about. It's giving people more power.
And candidly, I give ourselves a punching shot, but I also do think we have a legally sound argument.
Good.
And that's the most important thing. And one thing that people should understand about the litigation process, a lot of people say, is this right or is this wrong? There's 67 counties in the state of Florida, and they're trial level judges. So it's right or wrong if the trial level judge says it's right or wrong. And so that's one thing, is we have better legal arguments. We have arguments that are founded in better law and worse legal arguments. But ultimately, there's that trial level judge who was either appointed or was elected, and they may do a better job. They may not do as good of a job. It may be a complicated issue. So when someone says, is this right or wrong legally? I say, we're going to a hearing and a judge is going to make a determination. Fortunately, and I've practiced throughout the state, a lot of the judges are, do a great job. They're prepared and they understand the arguments. So, that's a benefit.
Okay.
And so what happens if a judge doesn't agree with our position, right? Mm-hmm. And so one of the benefits is we have a team in place, and we just brought someone on board that is one of the premier appellate attorneys in the state of Florida. And this is someone who has, almost a dozen DCA opinions in their name, has argued in all the district courts of appeals. And so the benefit that gives you is you can head off some issues at the trial level, at the lower level, mm-hmm. if you have better people who understand the appellate issues. And so one of the things that we did, we looked ahead and said, hey, we're going to continue to work as hard as we can, for these homeowners, and how could we put the best possible pieces of the puzzle together? And I've worked at two of the larger firms in the state of Florida. I know what that looks like. You have young, hungry attorneys doing a great job, going out there fighting for benefits. At the end of the day, you don't get a 20-plus year practicing attorney with a dozen appellate decisions who's going to guide those people through those issues on the trial level. So what we try to do is not say we're going to have the biggest team. What we do is we're going to try to have the most comprehensive team that can serve the needs specifically for roofers, contractors, service providers, and obviously the number one people, which is the homeowners and the insureds. And so we try to curate that to make it match.
And that's something we got to remember. I mean, roofing contractors out there, the job in the end is customer service. It's providing a great roof for a homeowner. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that can get convoluted when you're dealing with insurance companies and trying to get approvals. But in the end, the job is just to put on a great roof, mm-hmm. to put a roof literally over somebody's family. So tell me this then. I want to kind of close with this, Winston, if it's all right. I want to ask, just kind of make your case, if you don't mind me asking, for you've got a roofing contractor out there that's watching this. Yep. They're thinking to themselves, I haven't heard from my attorney in about a month, mm-hmm. and I really don't get much information when I speak to him. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm not happy with the relationship they have with my homeowners. Mm-hmm. What would you say to that roofing contractor out there if they're considering making a switch? They're looking for a different attorney. Why should they go with Taitt Law? We have a thoughtful team that's responsive. And also, you don't need to give us anything for us to give you something, right? So you don't need to give me anything. If you want the best top-rate legal advice you can possibly get, give me a phone call. We'll go to lunch. We'll talk about your issues. Mm-hmm. So the number one thing I can say is, because sometimes we get behind on our emails, sometimes we get behind on our calls. I'm not perfect, right? We have good processes in place, but the number one thing I would tell that person is look me in the eyes. And learn about where I've come and how I got here and what I want to do for you, and see if it's genuine. At the end of the day, one of the things that's really exciting about this is that we can be honest. We can have an honest conversation. This is not a sales pitch. Yeah. Ask me a question. Hey, you have this issue. Send me a policy and say, hey, Winston, do you think there's coverage here? What do you need? So that's what I would say to that roofer is invite me to your place or come to my office. Let's start the conversation. Let's be boutique for you. We're bringing big firm experience, but you're getting a boutique customer service is really, really what you're getting. And so that would be my plea is, hey, listen, obviously the other thing is, and candidly, is if you're sending 1,000 cases to someone and you're running into the same issue over and over, try our firm with some of those cases. Yeah. I'm not asking, hey, change your entire process. You're successful. If you have 1,000 claims, you have 1,000 claims for a reason, is you're a successful business person. But what do all successful people do is diversify, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying anyone here does a terrible job. I'm just saying give me a seat at the table, and I can do that either by
running a portion of your claims or simply answering your questions. And I find that that's really good. Or we do exciting events. I'm not sure I told you, we did an event at Shooter's World where we had a bunch of roofers taking at 100 yards, 50 cal Barrett at 100 yards. And so in between talking about roofs, we were seeing who was a sharpshooter, which was an incredible amount of fun. Come to an event, come to a CE. I'm under the state of Florida. I'm able to give continuing educations. I want to give continuing educations. Obviously, once we get through that issue, that's going to be litigated. Win, lose, or draw. I want to promote what I believe in, that my argument. So I want to promote that argument. I want to talk about supplements. I want to talk about what the role is, how less is more in opening a claim. And so we'll have CEs, we'll have fun events. Come to an event, invite me to your place, give me a shot, give me a call over the phone.
Yep.
I make myself available.
And I think that's so important for roofing contractors to understand. If they want to get in touch with you, they can go to your website. We'll go ahead and put it below the video, okay? TaittLaw.com, is that correct?
TaittLaw.com.
TaittLaw.com. They can go there. They can request something right there online. They can talk to you right there.
100%.
They can call your cell phone. We will go ahead and provide that number as well. But also, you can come out to their place of business. Work with their sales reps. If you have not had an attorney like Winston Tate come out and talk to your people, your back office, your sales team, you are grossly underestimating what an attorney can do for you. What I mean is, these people need to have you out there to talk about some topics like deductibles, like AOBs. How has this stuff changed? What's changing in the future for it? Have his team come out there, talk to your people, and get them more prepared. Because the more prepared people are, the sales reps in the field, the back office who fields the calls, the more that they are prepared, the better expectations that are going to be set with the homeowner and the happier they're going to be.
That would be my pleasure. My pleasure is to put up a board, have the entire team there. We make it exciting. We talk, we go through the slides, we talk questions, and it's engaging. That's an incredible idea. I'd love to do that.
Then do that, folks. Give Winston a call. Have him come out to your roof as a roofing contractor. Have him come out to your place of business. Work with him. You're all over Florida, right?
All over the state of Florida, based in Orlando.
Great. That'll be it. I appreciate it, Winston. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Appreciate it.